little bit about the effort today. I mean, these guys were kind of beat up, and yet they kept fighting.
I think the effort was great, and I reminded them at halftime about the way we play on the road. I said, they played great. We didn't do smart things. You know, we put in a lot of plays this week, a lot of things for Shane Bohannon, and we ignored him. It doesn't pay to work on it all weekend. At halftime, I just gave them a piece of my mind saying, you know, this is you've got a great player here, but you're ignoring him. And they got the message, and they didn't ignore him.
What about him, and especially in that second half? I mean, it seemed like that's him.
He was a great player. He deserves all the credit. He's working really hard to get back, and we're going to continue to go to him. And Russ has got to realize that the great players play well in the final 5 to 7 minutes of the game, not early on. What great guards do is get the ball inside, get it to the people to motivate them to play better defense.
Rick, we've talked about making adjustments to injuries, you know, before the game, but it almost seemed like in game you guys had so many different moving parts. What does it say just about the heart of this team?
I think they got great heart. I think they're a fun team to coach. I think that we made some vital mistakes in the first half, but this was as good a crowd as we've played in quite some time. You know, it'll rival any Big East crowd, certainly. Great arena, great fans, great crowd. And we had a battle, all the elements tonight to get a victory, and we did. We did a good job in the second half of moving the basketball and answering their threes. Kevin made a big three, Shane made a big three, Luke made a couple of big threes. We're shooting the ball much better in practice, but the movement was much better offensively in the second half.
And free throw line, too, you guys.
We've been improving at all phases. The first half, I was really upset at the guys because we worked all week on getting Shane the ball, and we didn't get it to him. In the second half, we did a good job.
Coach, how important is it to keep this rivalry going with Memphis, especially with everything that's happening?
With the exception of one fan who kept saying I was afraid of the Big East, that's why we're leaving, and that after I worked for 2 months trying to promote Memphis in the Big East, and everybody knows how much I love the Big East, I'd like to keep it going for a long time. Great fans, great environment. You know, I'm really upset, and I don't want to blame football, I don't want to blame greed, I don't want to blame all the call icon presidents that just are going for the money and giving up 75 years of tradition, and that's what it is. Because money shouldn't make women's sports suffer and minor sports suffer where they got to take 3 different flights while the rest of us takes charter for 2 sports. These women, you know, like a school that just left the Big 12's got the closest school is 800 miles. What do all those women do? What do the minor sports do? So everybody's leaving all this great tradition for money. Now I understand money's important in all walks of life, but how much do you need? I mean, we were desperate. We wanted to stay in the Big East badly, but we'd probably lose football. So, you know, football's really important to Louisville. But I love Memphis, love the town, love the people, love the rivalry. It's a great rivalry, and I'd love to continue it. We got to see what's going to happen with the Big East next year. But I think Josh is a terrific young coach, going to get better and better and better. You know, everybody always gets on young coaches. But I know one thing, I wish I was his age now, but he's much better than me when I was his age. So he's going to do a terrific job with this program, already has.
Was your intent on to try not to play Van Treese if you could?
Didn't want to play him because he didn't practice for 3 days. And Fred said, you may lose him for the next couple of days. And with FIU coming up, I didn't want to give Richard any edge at all.
What tipped your hand? What made you decide?
Because it was all whether Montrez could learn the 5 spot, and he learned it fine. So he was practicing well at the 5 spot.
Coach, when you got down, Peyton scored 7 straight. He kind of kept you in the game when everything else.
Yeah, I think we learned so many lessons tonight. We learned how valuable Shane is. Russ learned a lesson that he could shoot us out of the game if he takes bad shots, and that was the Russ freshman year, not this year. And he showed great maturity. The thing about Russ is you can get on him, and he responds in a good way. So our guys came out in the second half and played better team basketball.
You already knew he was tough, but did he show you something being able to come back, Russ, after being out with that ankle in the first half?
You have to know Russ. Russ, when he has an injury, you realize that he's going to go to Lloyd's, get healed, which is going to take, depends if he misses the shot or not or makes a bad play. You know he's going to be healed. So and I said, you okay? He said, I'm fine. And so it really, he has tremendous recovery power through prayer, because that's the only thing that could have, I couldn't even pick him up, he was hobbled so much, and all of a sudden he made a great recovery and the ankle didn't bother him.
The buzzer, the final buzzer, you turn around and engage some fan. Can you Give us
I
a
just
little
said he's
glimpse of what
yelling,
that
he
is.
was yelling about, you're afraid of the Big East, you're afraid of the Big East. I said, do you ever pick up a newspaper, how much work I tried to do for Memphis? And you all know how much I love the Big East, I'm a Big East guy. I said, do you always act like that?
They always act like that.
Well, in the first half, it was getting dicey, and Peyton kind of offensively settled things down, it looked like, or he had about 5.
I think Peyton's a tremendous player because he doesn't lose his poise, and they're a very tough team to guard. They're playing much better now than they did in the Bahamas. I watched in the Bahamas. This is a totally different basketball team. They run great sets both against zone and man. They're terrific one-on-one players. The young man out of the Atlanta Celtics is a terrific basketball player, much better than I even thought. So they got a lot of terrific young players.
Coach, how much does this help you down the road? The atmosphere, playing without some guys.
I don't think the atmosphere gets any better than what I watched today. I've been here before, but I didn't remember it being like this. Has it been? Was it like this before when we came in here? I didn't remember.
Sometimes.
This was a really fired up crowd. When we walked out, I just kept telling my guys, this is what college basketball is all about. I said, you're never going to get this. I said, enjoy it, soak it up and enjoy it, and we certainly did.
The 24 turnovers that Memphis had, I mean, are you at all surprised it was that?
Well, it's either they scored or they turned it over. They shot a very high percentage against our defense, and that's a credit to them.
Before his last free throw, a fan yelled at Russ, and he turned and acknowledged him and shook his head and then took the free throw. You just don't see guys do that. Maybe it's good that you don't, but
I'm glad I didn't see it.
yeah, you didn't see it.
That's also just Russ.
Don't tell him I told him.
Eric Crawford, right?